I never meant for one stupid dare to change everything. If someone had told me last semester that a late-night bet with my friends would become the single loudest secret in my life, I would have laughed, then laughed harder when it happened. But here I am, writing this with shaking hands and mascara still cooling on my cheeks, because the person I am when I tuck my hair behind my ear and smudge red lipstick into a perfect shape is somehow truer than the version of me I show the world. My name is Marco, though most people call me Mark. I work part-time at a small independent bookstore near campus. Stacks of used paperbacks with corners dog-eared like open palms. Bookstore work is perfect for someone like me. Quiet hours shelved between fantasy and memoirs, cash register afternoons full of polite conversation about obscure authors, and enough alone time to paint my nails in the back room after closing. It pays my share of the rent and gives me the excuse of a hobby, when the truth is more complicated. Crossdressing isn't a hobby for me the way it is for others who collect shoes or cosplay. It's a soft, persistent part of who I am that I usually hide in plain sight. Isabella knows parts of me. Enough to keep us close, not enough to ruin the equilibrium we've built. She's my girlfriend of almost 2 years. Bright, quick-witted, and the kind of person who wears her confidence like a favorite jacket. Izzy has this laugh that can cut through my worst moods, and she studies art history like it's the most urgent thing on earth. We met in a seminar about icons and identity. She debated a point about representation until I finally walked over and asked if she wanted coffee. That coffee turned into long walks, dinners on the cheap, and the small domestic rituals of sharing a toothbrush holder and a thrifted couch. To everyone watching, we are normal, maybe enviable, perfectly mismatched in the way couples are supposed to be. But there's the private part of me that tightens when someone calls me by my legal name and asks for the man of the house to fix something. That part swoons at the feel of a silk blouse against my skin, at the way my shoulders soften when I cinch a waist. It trembles at the thought of being discovered. So I learned to compartmentalize. Mark, the reliable boyfriend and bookstore employee. Marco, the one who, on rare nights, practices feminine mannerisms in front of the mirror until they feel less like an act and more like recognition. I have a drawer with scarves and a shoebox full of heels that smell faintly of perfume and possibility. I have a makeup kit hidden in a shoebox that matches the other shoeboxes on the top shelf. It's meticulous, careful, like everything about my doubled life. I tell myself it's just exploration. I tell myself it's private. I tell myself 100 comforting things. The apartment we share is small. 2 rooms above a bakery that smells like cinnamon in the mornings, a living room with a sagging couch that still holds our laughter, and a bedroom that's supposed to be neutral ground. Izzy has a corner with her easel and paints. I have a stack of textbooks and the small altar of identities I tame into place at night. Most evenings we cook together. She dices vegetables, I make pasta, and the rituals make a life. The danger is that the rituals also make me comfortable enough to forget I'm hiding anything at all. Tonight, the apartment feels like a stage set. Isabella went to her friend Sophia's exhibit opening, an event she'd been excited about for weeks, and told me she'd be back by midnight. It should have been a straightforward evening of solitude. I would close up at the bookstore, come home, and sink into a book until she returned. Instead, the dare happened. It was harmless at first. A stupid joke thrown in the bookstore break room when some students came in to buy textbooks, and our humor turned like sugar into something louder. Dress up as a girl and go to the Halloween party, Lucas had said, one of those loud, reckless students who thinks rules are invitations. Someone filmed it. You'd be the prettiest girl in school, he laughed. It landed in my chest with an awkward warmth. Something inside me flared. Not because I wanted to show off, but because the idea made me feel seen in a way I hadn't allowed myself to be. My friends egged me on. The alcohol made my mouth loose, and the camera made the moment permanent. Do it, I said, surprising myself. Then the practical part of me did the rest. The bookstore has a donation bin in back, and sometimes people drop off things that are too good to throw away. That night, after everyone left, I slipped into the back room and ran my fingers along fabrics until I found a dress with a subtle floral print and a pair of flats that looked almost new. The perfumed night air felt like permission. I took the clothes home in a brown paper bag that smelled faintly of old paperbacks and mint gum. It felt like smuggling a secret into her house. I thought I could do it quickly, put it on, take a picture, send it to the group chat, and call it a night. But the dress fit in a way that surprised me. It hugged places I didn't realize wanted to be hugged, and the fabric whispered across my skin like a truth. I sat on the edge of the bed and steadied myself with the mattress springs, heart pounding in a way that had nothing to do with exertion. The mirror in our hallway caught me off guard. The face I saw was mine and not mine. Cheekbones softened by a dab of bronzer, eyes defined with a subtle stroke of liner, lips filled with a color that made my mouth look like it might remember a different kind of smile. There's a small, ridiculous magic in applying mascara for the first time. The trembling brush, the careful sweep, the exaggerated blinking until the lashes look like the edges of a new possibility. I built the look slowly, as if construction could scaffold the person I feared and wanted. High heels were a risk. I chose flats tonight to be safe, but even the way the flats made my calves angle felt like a new language. I twirled, awkwardly, imperfectly, and laughed, a small sound that bordered on prayer. At that moment, with the clock hand inching past midnight and Izzy's laugh far away in a gallery, the apartment felt like a private universe. I took a photo and sent it to the chat with a stupid caption, "Bet accepted." The reply came like a gust of air. Fire emojis, shocked faces, and Lucas's snarky, "Dude, you look unreal." I expected the thrill to fade then, but it tightened. Being seen, even in pixels, was intoxicating. Then my phone buzzed again, this time a text from Isabella. She said she was running late, that the exhibit had lots of people, and asked me to lock the door if I fell asleep. I hit a reply with a thumbs up and then, in a breathless impulse, changed into heels. The heels weren't new, but the sound they made on our wooden floor felt like an announcement. I stood in the doorway of the bedroom and stared into the mirror until the image blurred, until the man who paid rent and the person who delighted in silk seemed to orbit one another like twin moons. I don't know whether I felt brave or foolish. Maybe both. The rest of the night spread out like a map without legends. Quiet steps into the living room, a playlist of songs that made my chest ache with longing, and the ache itself, the fear that Isabella would come home earlier than she said, the dread of a knock at the door when mascara streaks across my hand and the dress is still on the chair. Now that it's done, the most dangerous part is no longer the act itself. It's the tension between wanting to keep the secret and the hunger to be the person I glimpsed in the mirror. So this is where I am, perched on the edge of revelation and ruin, the heels in the closet like loaded metaphors. The apartment hums with the baker's last customers downstairs and the distant city sirens. I am both steadied and fraying. I want to tell Isabella everything, to hand her the shoebox and the confession with trembling honesty, but another voice, smaller, fierce, says not yet. Let it be mine for a while longer. Let me learn who I am when I slide a skirt over my hips and breathe into someone else's smile. This introduction isn't a confession so much as a snapshot. It's the moment before the house of cards tips. It's the breath before a diver jumps. I am Mark and I am Marco. I am scared, desirous, and dizzy with the knowledge that the smallest choices bend lives. When the gallery lights dim and Izzy's heels click toward the door, everything will change, or nothing will. Either way, I can already feel the suspense like a pulse under my skin. The next morning felt like waking from a dream I didn't want to end. The dress hung quietly from the closet door, a soft reminder that last night hadn't been a hallucination. The photo still lingered in the group chat, racking up heart emojis and teasing comments. "Man, you killed it," Lucas had texted. "You sure you're not secretly a model?" The teasing tone was obvious, but the compliment nestled itself into a dangerous part of me, the part that wanted it to be true. I tried to shove that thought away as I brewed coffee, pretending to be the same old Mark. But my reflection in the kitchen window betrayed me. Even in plain clothes, I saw the faint outline of eyeliner that hadn't completely washed off. The faint shadow of mascara clung to my lashes like a secret whispering, "You liked it, didn't you?" I did. More than I was willing to admit out loud. When Isabella came into the kitchen, Humming softly and still glowing from the night before, I nearly dropped the mug. Her presence had always grounded me, but now it made me nervous. What if she somehow knew? She smiled. You were asleep when I got home. Sorry I woke you, but you looked so peaceful. I managed a small grin. How was the exhibit? Good. Sophia's new work was amazing. She had this whole series about masks, how people hide behind what they wear. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Her words landed like a slow, heavy weight. Masks. Hiding. Clothing as disguise. It was like the universe was mocking me. I stirred my coffee too long before finally muttering, yeah, it does. Izzy kissed my cheek, grabbed her art folder, and headed for the door. I'll be home late again tonight. Critique session. Don't wait up, okay? Sure, I said too quickly. As soon as the door clicked shut, silence rushed in, and with it, temptation. That afternoon, I tried to lose myself at the bookstore, but the world seemed to conspire against my calm. 2 girls from the local college came in giggling, looking for outfits for their upcoming Halloween party. I'm going as a witch, one said, and she's going as a fairy. We're gonna make everyone jealous. Their laughter had that carefree lightness I envied. They didn't have to hide their transformation. They could play with identity openly, without fear. I helped them find books on costume design, all the while trying to ignore the pulse that began in my chest. Before leaving, one of them turned back to me and said, you know, with your bone structure, you'd make a pretty good fairy yourself. It was a passing comment, said with no deeper intent, but it hit me like a spark in dry grass. My throat went dry. I smiled politely, but inside, everything twisted and bloomed at once. When I locked up that evening, the mirror in the staff restroom pulled me in again. I looked at my reflection, the tired bookstore clerk, and thought of the girl from last night. The one who smiled nervously at her reflection, cheeks blushing beneath the warm glow of lamplight. Could I see her again? By the time I got home, my resolve had already broken. I told myself it was harmless, that I was just experimenting. Isabella wouldn't be home for hours, and the thought of slipping back into that dress made my pulse quicken in a way that books never could. The shoebox came down from the top shelf like a sacred ritual. Each item had its place. The wig with chestnut curls, the soft blush compact, the glossy lipstick I'd bought months ago for a friend, but never gave away. This time, I didn't rush. I took my time. First, the transformation of touch, smoothing moisturizer over freshly shaved skin, the faint coolness that made me aware of every inch of my body. Then the soft, deliberate layering, foundation that erased imperfections, mascara that turned blinks into flutters, lipstick that pulled a smile into existence. Each motion changed me, not just on the surface but in spirit. My reflection transformed into someone more confident, someone freer. I practiced walking again, balancing on heels with careful steps that echoed through the apartment. At one point, I laughed at my reflection, a nervous, breathy sound. Look at you, I whispered to the mirror. Who are you? The girl in the reflection tilted her head, as if asking me the same thing. The thrill of transformation, mixed with a sharp tang of risk. Every creak of the hallway outside, every car passing below, felt like a warning. I knew Isabella could come home early. I knew one misstep could shatter everything, but the danger made it intoxicating. I slipped on a light cardigan over the dress and sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone. My reflection in the black screen was mesmerizing. The person staring back didn't look like Mark. She looked like someone else entirely, someone who had been waiting her whole life to breathe. And then another text came. From Lucas again. Yo, you coming to the party next weekend? Don't bail on us, princess. You've got a rep to uphold now. Princess. The word made my stomach flutter. It was meant as a joke, but it felt like an invitation. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Should I? Before I could decide, I heard footsteps in the hallway. My heart jumped. No. Izzy wasn't supposed to be home yet. I darted to the mirror, snatching off the wig and grabbing a towel to wipe off the lipstick. My pulse thundered in my ears. I could hear her keys jingling. The front door creaked open. Mark. I froze. The name sounded wrong now. In here. I managed to call out, shoving the wig behind a cushion. She stepped in, smiling tiredly.
Hey.
I forgot my sketchbook. Her eyes swept over me quickly, casually, but then paused. Were you doing something? The question sliced through the air. My heart stuttered.
What?
No, I said too fast, rubbing at my lips. Just cleaning. Her brow furrowed. Cleaning in cologne? I blinked. I'd forgotten. The perfume from the wig still lingered in the air. She didn't say anything more, just grabbed her sketchbook and smiled faintly. You're acting weird, babe. I'm just tired, I said, hoping my voice didn't shake. When the door shut again behind her, I exhaled a shaky breath that almost turned into laughter. Relief mixed with panic, creating something dizzying. That was close. Too close. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about the dare and the reflection that still lived in my mirror. Each time Isabella left for class, I found myself tempted to open that closet door again. At first, I resisted, but temptation has a way of wearing you down. The next time I dressed up, I gave the reflection a name. Marcy. It just fit. Marcy was confident. She didn't apologize for her voice or her shape. She laughed easily. She walked differently, hips swaying, back straight, head high. Mark blended into shadows. Marcy shone under them. And the more I became her, the more the line blurred between playing a role and becoming one. Isabella noticed small changes. You've been acting different lately, she said one night over dinner. You seem happier, though. I smiled carefully. Just trying new things, I guess. She tilted her head, studying me. Well, whatever it is, it suits you. Her words lit something deep inside me. It was validation I didn't expect and didn't deserve, but I clung to it. The week moved fast, and before I knew it, the Halloween party was only 2 days away. Lucas wouldn't stop texting me about it. You're not backing out, right? Everyone's dying to see your look again. Come on, bro, it'll be fun. You owe us the full transformation this time. Each message was a little jab, a little nudge toward a decision that terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. I stood in front of the mirror that night, the dress hanging beside me like a silent dare. Could I do it again? This time publicly? Could I risk it? As I brushed my hair back and looked at my reflection, I realized something that made my chest ache. The fear of being seen had become less powerful than the need to be seen. And that's when I made the choice. I would go to the party. As her. As Marcy. But I had no idea that this decision would unravel everything. My secret, my relationship, my sense of who I was. Because that night, when I showed up as the prettiest girl in school, someone was waiting who wasn't supposed to be there. And their eyes caught mine with a look that promised everything was about to change. The night of the Halloween party arrived faster than I could prepare for. My heart had been in my throat all day. Every text from Lucas, every snap from friends, every laugh echoing in my head only reminded me that this was it. There was no turning back now. I waited until Isabella left for her studio critique. She kissed me goodbye, her lips soft and trusting, whispering, "Don't stay up too late." If she only knew. The moment the door shut, I stood frozen for a long time, staring at my reflection in the dark TV screen. The apartment was quiet except for my heartbeat. On the bed, the dress lay perfectly folded, the wig beside it like a waiting promise. All right, I whispered to myself. One more time. It began again, the transformation.
Slow.
Deliberate. The cool feel of foundation smoothing over my skin, erasing the face I'd spent years presenting to the world. The shimmer of eyeshadow that made my eyes gleam under the bathroom light. The soft tug of the dress as it slipped up over my shoulders and hugged my body like it had always belonged there. Every zip, every brushstroke, every click of a buckle felt like a heartbeat sinking to a rhythm I didn't know I'd been missing. When I put the wig on and adjusted the curls, the girl in the mirror smiled back at me. She wasn't Mark pretending. She was Marcy. "Hey, beautiful," I whispered, almost blushing at my own reflection. The heels went on next, taller ones this time. I practiced walking in front of the mirror, slow steps, careful balance, until I found my rhythm. When I finally picked up my phone, my hands were trembling. Lucas had sent another text. You better be here before 10. Don't chicken out, princess. Princess again. That word that made me feel both exposed and adored. I grabbed my coat, double-checked my lipstick, and took one last look around the apartment. It smelled faintly of Isabella's lavender perfume and cinnamon from the bakery below. My two worlds, the comforting normalcy of my relationship and the exhilarating chaos of my secret, stood side by side. And then I stepped out. The party was being held at one of the frat houses near campus, the kind of place where bass made the walls shake. Colored lights flickered against the windows. I could already hear laughter and the low buzz of conversation from half a block away. As I approached, heads turned. People were gathered outside, smoking, chatting, and when I passed, I felt their eyes linger. Not in mockery, not in confusion, but in curiosity. In admiration. Whoa, who's that? I heard someone whisper. It hit me all at once. I wasn't invisible tonight. Inside, the house was alive with music. Costumes everywhere, superheroes, witches, vampires, and girls in glitter. The smell of sweat, perfume, and cheap alcohol filled the air. I hesitated in the doorway until Lucas spotted me. Holy Marcy, he shouted, running over. You actually did it. I laughed nervously. Guess I did. He whistled low. You're stealing the show, dude. Nobody's even gonna recognize you. He wasn't wrong. A few people turned to look, but none of them saw Mark. They saw her. Lucas handed me a drink, and I took it with shaking hands. Loosen up, he said. You're killing it. I tried to relax, to let Marcy take control. I danced a little, posed for photos, laughed too loudly at dumb jokes. The air buzzed around me like static, and for the first time, I didn't care who saw me. Then the trouble began. Across the room, I caught sight of someone familiar. Long dark hair, a confident stride, a wine-colored dress that shimmered under the lights. My stomach dropped. Isabella.
No.
It couldn't be. But it was. She shouldn't have been here. She'd said she was working late at the studio. Panic rippled through me. She was talking with a few people near the bar, laughing, completely unaware of me, of Marcy. My mind raced. What would happen if she saw me like this? In her dress. Wearing makeup. Looking like not the boyfriend she knew. I ducked behind a group of people, pretending to fix my heel, heart pounding. Lucas noticed my sudden change in mood. You okay? I nodded quickly. Yeah, just, too hot in here. He laughed. Want me to grab you some air? No, I said quickly, almost too sharply. I'm fine. But I wasn't. Isabella turned her head, scanning the crowd. My breath caught. For one brief, agonizing second, her gaze brushed over me. But she didn't recognize me. Not as Mark. Not as the person she thought she knew. That realization hit me harder than I expected. She didn't see me, and yet, maybe for the first time, I was being truly seen. The duality tore me apart. I escaped to the backyard, clutching the railing for balance. The cool night air bit at my skin, and I felt dizzy. How could I explain this to her? What would she say if she found out? The laughter from inside faded, replaced by the hum of distant cars. I looked down at my hands, delicate, polished, trembling. I'd built this persona from scraps of courage and fear, and now it was unraveling under the weight of a single truth. I didn't know who I wanted to be anymore. A voice startled me. Hey, Marcy, right? I turned. It was Sam, one of Isabella's classmates, a quiet guy who sometimes came into the bookstore. Why, I stammered, trying to stay calm. He smiled. You look amazing tonight. Thanks, I whispered, barely managing the word. You know, you remind me of someone. Can't put my finger on it. My heart froze. He was studying me too closely. His eyes lingered on my face, then widened slightly in realization. Wait, Mark? The word felt like a gunshot. I froze. He stepped back, confusion flashing across his face. It is you, isn't it? I opened my mouth but couldn't speak. The music inside suddenly felt louder, pounding through the walls. Dude, what are you? Please. I cut him off. Don't. Not here. He looked torn between shock and curiosity. Okay, he said quietly after a long pause.
Hey, it's cool, man.
You do. I just didn't expect it. I nodded, trying to steady my breath. Please don't tell anyone. Especially not Isabella. He looked me over again, then sighed. Your secret's safe with me. Just be careful. People talk. He walked away, leaving me standing under the cold moonlight, the weight of what had just happened sinking in. Now someone knew. Someone besides me. The secret wasn't safe anymore. I stayed outside for a long time trying to gather myself. Eventually, I slipped back inside to grab my coat, but as I reached the hallway, I heard her voice. Marcy. I froze. Isabella was standing near the door, her brow furrowed, eyes narrowing as she studied me. She stepped closer. Wait, do I know you? My breath caught. The music muffled around us, the world narrowing to just her and me. I tried to speak, but my voice trembled. I don't think so. Her gaze sharpened. Her eyes flicked over my face, my mouth, my eyes, the details only someone who loved me would notice. Mark, she whispered. The word hit like a storm. The silence that followed was unbearable. I can explain. I stammered, stepping back. Her face went pale, then flushed red. Explain what exactly? Why my boyfriend is dressed up like this. The accusation cut deep, not because it was cruel, but because it was drenched in hurt. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, I said quickly, voice breaking. Find out what? She demanded. That you've been lying to me? That you've been sneaking around pretending to be someone else. The room felt smaller. People nearby were starting to notice. I heard whispers, curious glances. I wanted to disappear. It started as a dare, I said desperately. I wasn't trying to. A dare. Her laugh was hollow. You went this far for a dare? Her voice cracked. Tears welled in her eyes, anger and confusion mixing in equal measure. Do you even hear yourself? I reached out to her, but she stepped back. You should have told me, she whispered. I could have understood. Maybe. But this? You lied. Before I could answer, she turned and pushed through the crowd, vanishing into the night. And just like that, the fragile balance of my double life shattered. I stumbled home later, mascara streaked and eyes burning. The apartment felt emptier than it ever had. Her side of the bed was cold. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the mirror. The reflection that had once felt so freeing now looked haunted. The makeup was smeared, the wig slightly askew, but underneath, I saw both versions of me colliding. Marcy. One built on lies, the other on truth. The phone buzzed again, Lucas, texting. Dude, everyone's talking about how amazing you looked. Total legend. I laughed bitterly through my tears. Legend, I whispered. If only he knew what it cost. I stood up, walking to the mirror one last time. I reached up, pulling off the wig, but halfway through I stopped. The sight of my reflection, half Mark, half Marcy, froze me. This was the truest version of me yet. Somewhere in that blurred line between both selves, I saw something raw and real, a person who had tried to be brave and had instead become exposed. The knock on the door shattered the silence.
Once. Twice.
I froze. Then Isabella's voice, muffled but trembling. Mark, can we talk? I looked at the mirror again, torn between who I was and who I'd just become. Then I took a slow, shaking breath and opened the door. Her eyes widened as she saw me still half-dressed, makeup streaked, hair half undone. She didn't speak at first. She just stared. I don't know who you are anymore, she said quietly. And all I could whisper was, neither do I. The night had fallen over Crestwood, but inside the house, Ryan, now Riley, stood before the mirror, breathless. The room smelled faintly of hairspray, perfume, and the faint sweetness of lip gloss. Her reflection was stunning, long lashes, a perfect winged eyeliner, shimmering lips, and a dress that clung to her body in ways she had never imagined possible. For a moment, everything felt unreal. The dare that had started as a joke now felt like something more, a revelation, a danger, a truth that frightened her. Her phone buzzed. Isabella. Hey babe, just finishing dinner with the girls. I'll be home soon. Riley froze. The blood drained from her face. Home soon? She looked around, the wig on her head, the mess of cosmetics on the dresser, her old clothes strewn across the floor. Panic gripped her. She had maybe 20 minutes. Before she could even begin to clean up, there came a knock at the door. Not Isabella's knock. 3 sharp raps. She froze again. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought whoever was at the door could hear it. She tried to stay quiet, but curiosity clawed at her. She tiptoed toward the window, peeking through the curtains. It was Jared, her best friend, and the one who had started the dare. He was holding a bag of snacks, laughing on the phone with someone, completely unaware that the person inside the house wasn't Ryan anymore. It was Riley, a living, breathing version of his prank. She whispered to herself, "Oh God, not him, not now." She backed away from the window, clutching her chest. Jared knocked again, louder this time. "Ryan, you home, man? You're not chickening out, are you?" Riley's stomach twisted. The irony was painful if only he knew what was happening inside. She debated whether to hide, to stay quiet until he left. But then she heard the sound of the door handle turn. He had a spare key. She gasped. Within seconds, the door creaked open. She darted behind the living room wall, holding her breath. "Dude, you left the door unlocked again," Jared said, stepping in casually. "You're lucky I didn't." He stopped mid-sentence. Because there, on the coffee table, were open bottles of nail polish, a curling iron still plugged in, and a pair of pink heels. He frowned. What the hell? Riley felt like the walls were closing in. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She had 2 choices: hide forever or face him. Her instincts betrayed her. As she tried to slip quietly down the hallway, the heel of her shoe snagged on the rug. She stumbled right into view. Jared's eyes widened. His phone fell from his hand. Ryan," he stammered. Riley froze, her face burning red. She could feel her heart racing, her palms sweating against the silky fabric of her dress. She wanted to run, to explain, to vanish. But Jared's silence was worse than any laughter could have been. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, the wig, the dress, the makeup, the trembling hands. "Dude, what the actual hell?" I can explain," she whispered, her voice shaking. Jared laughed awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. "This is part of the dare, right? Please tell me you're recording this." Riley didn't answer. She couldn't.
Her throat was dry.
Her body was trembling. Something inside her wanted to scream, "Yes, it's a joke," but another voice whispered, "No, this is me." When she didn't respond, Jared's face changed. His laughter died. "Wait, this isn't a prank, is it?" Tears welled in her eyes. You said I wouldn't do it. I just wanted to prove." "Prove what?" he asked, stepping closer. "That I wasn't scared," she whispered. "That maybe I liked it." The silence that followed was suffocating. Jared stared at her, his expression unreadable. "Ryan, man, this is intense." "It's Riley," she said suddenly, without thinking. The name spilled out of her like a confession. Before Jared could respond, the sound of keys jingling outside froze them both. Riley's blood ran cold. "Isabella." "Oh, crap," Jared muttered, looking toward the door. "She's here?" Riley spun toward the mirror, frantically wiping at her lipstick, smudging it across her cheek. "You have to go. She can't see me like this." "Like this?" Jared echoed, incredulous. "She's your girlfriend, man." "I know," Riley cried, voice breaking. "But she doesn't know this me." The door handle turned. Time slowed. Riley's body moved on instinct, grabbing a blanket, throwing it over herself, hiding behind the couch. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it would explode. The door opened. Isabella stepped in, humming softly, carrying a shopping bag. She froze almost immediately. Her eyes darted around the room. The nail polish, the heels, the faint scent of perfume. Her expression shifted. "Ryan," she called out, her tone uncertain. Jared opened his mouth to speak, but Riley shot him a desperate glare. Hey, Isabella," Jared said awkwardly, stepping forward. "I was just, dropping by." She narrowed her eyes. "You were? Why are there women's clothes everywhere?" Riley held her breath. Jared tried to laugh it off. "It's part of a prank, for the guys." But Isabella wasn't buying it. A prank? With lipstick on the mirror? And is that foundation? Her voice rose, sharp and suspicious. Riley's heart broke. She couldn't hide anymore. Slowly, trembling, she stood up from behind the couch, blanket falling to the floor, revealing the half-ruined version of her transformation, smeared makeup, disheveled wig, trembling lips. Isabella gasped, covering her mouth. "Ryan," she whispered. "What did you do?" Riley wanted to disappear. "It was a dare," she stammered. "It was stupid. It got out of hand." But Isabella's eyes were filled with something that cut deeper than anger, hurt. "A dare? You dress like this for a dare?" she asked quietly. Her tone was trembling now, half disbelief, half heartbreak. Riley nodded weakly. "I just wanted to prove I could. But then, I don't know. It felt." "Felt what?" Isabella pressed. Riley's voice faltered. "It felt right." The room fell silent again. Jared stood frozen, unsure what to say. Isabella's hands shook. Riley's tears began to fall, streaking the remnants of mascara down her cheeks. "I didn't mean to lie to you," she whispered. "I just didn't know how to tell you." Isabella slowly walked forward, stopping just a few feet away. She reached out and lifted a lock of the wig from Riley's face, staring into her tearful eyes. "Do you even know who you are anymore?" she whispered. Riley swallowed hard. "Maybe this is who I've always been." For a fleeting second, their eyes met, filled with confusion, pain, and something deeper neither could name. The air felt heavy. The sound of the ticking clock filled the silence. Isabella took a deep breath, then whispered, "I need time." She turned, walking toward the door, her voice breaking as she said, "I don't even know who I'm dating anymore." The door closed softly behind her. Jared remained still. Riley sank to her knees, tears spilling freely now. Jared sighed, rubbing his temples. "Man, this got real. Like really real." Riley didn't respond. She stared blankly at the mirror. The girl looking back wasn't just a disguise anymore. It was a reflection of something that had been hiding inside all along. "She hates me," Riley whispered. Jared hesitated. "Maybe. Or maybe she just needs time. You do too." Riley didn't answer. She just stared at the lipstick-stained reflection, a mixture of sorrow and strange acceptance settling over her. The wig, slightly tilted, framed a face that no longer belonged to Ryan. It belonged to someone new. Someone scared. Someone beautiful. Someone real. The night felt endless. Riley hadn't moved from the living room floor since Isabella left. The makeup had dried on her cheeks, mascara smudged into dark trails that told the story better than words ever could. The silence was heavy, too heavy. Every tick of the clock echoed like a reminder that she was alone now. When dawn finally crept in through the blinds, she pulled herself up and walked toward the mirror again. The girl staring back looked exhausted but still there. Not a costume. Not a prank. Not just a dare. The longer she looked, the more it felt like a truth she couldn't take off anymore. Her phone buzzed on the dresser. She jumped. A message. From Isabella. "We need to talk. After school." No heart emoji this time. Just 6 words that made her stomach twist into knots. She stared at them for a long moment. Her hand trembled. Should she answer? Should she apologize again? Before she could type anything, another message popped up. "And don't wash it off." Riley's breath caught. What did that mean? Was Isabella angry? Testing her? Or was there something else behind those words? Her reflection looked back at her, as if asking the same question. By noon, she forced herself to get ready, in his clothes again. Jeans, hoodie, sneakers. Ryan again. Except it didn't feel like Ryan anymore. The hoodie felt too big, the shoes too heavy. Everything about it felt wrong. At school, Jared avoided her gaze. When their eyes met briefly at the lockers, he just gave a small nod. Awkward, apologetic. She didn't blame him. Whispers followed her all morning. Maybe someone had seen something, a glimpse from the window, a photo or rumor. She couldn't tell. But the looks people gave her, they felt knowing. By the time the last bell rang, her nerves were shot. Isabella was waiting outside, leaning against her car, arms folded, eyes unreadable. Riley swallowed hard and walked up. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." Isabella's tone was calm, too calm. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind brushed Isabella's hair against her face. She looked at Riley, no anger now, just something colder. Finally, she said, "Get in." They sat in silence as the car rolled down the street. The only sound was the hum of the engine and Riley's heartbeat thundering in her ears. They parked at the edge of town, near the old overlook, the place they used to go after late-night movies. Isabella turned to her. "You know what hurts the most?" she said quietly. "That you couldn't just tell me." Riley's voice cracked. "I didn't mean to hide it. It just started as a dare and then it stopped being a dare," Isabella finished. "Didn't it?" Riley nodded, eyes filling with tears. "I don't even know how to explain it," she whispered. "When I saw myself in the mirror, it felt like I was finally someone I recognized. And that scared me." Isabella exhaled slowly, looking away. "You think it didn't scare me too?" For a long time, they sat there in silence, the space between them thick with everything unspoken. Then Isabella reached into her bag and pulled out something wrapped in a small velvet pouch. She handed it to Riley. Riley opened it and froze. Inside was the lipstick she'd worn last night. "I found it on the floor," Isabella said softly. "You left it behind." Riley's breath hitched. "Why are you giving it back?" Isabella met her eyes. "Because I think you'll need it again." Riley stared at her. "What do you mean?" Isabella didn't answer right away. She started the car, the sound of the engine breaking the heavy silence. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "Because I want to see her again. The girl you were last night." Riley's heart stopped. You do?" "I don't know who she is," Isabella continued, eyes still on the road. "But I think I need to find out. And maybe so do you." Riley sat there speechless. The world outside blurred past the window. She touched the lipstick in her hand, her fingers trembling. Was this forgiveness? Or another test? When they arrived back home, Isabella parked the car but didn't get out immediately. She turned to Riley and said, "Tomorrow night. Same time. No dares. No lies. Just truth." Riley nodded, voice barely a whisper. "Okay." As she stepped out of the car, the cool evening air brushed her skin. She looked down at the lipstick one more time, the symbol of everything she'd tried to hide. She slipped it into her pocket. The streetlights flickered as she walked up to her door. For the first time, she wasn't sure who she'd be when she looked in the mirror again, Ryan, Riley, or someone in between. But one thing was certain. The dare wasn't over. It had only just begun. The camera fades on the image of Riley's hand gripping the lipstick under the dim glow of the streetlight. A haunting melody plays. Narrator, voiceover. She thought it was just a game. But some games don't end when the night does. Tell me, if you were in her place, would you open that pouch again? Cue suspenseful music, text on screen. What happens when curiosity becomes identity? Comment your theory below.